Davidson County Election Commission is being held at the Metro Southeast facility in the Green Hills Conference Room. We're sorry we're late. Several of the commissioners, including myself, got stuck in a traffic jam on the interstate, and we are doing the best we can, but we apologize for being late going on the record. I expect that Commissioner Davis is also stuck in traffic, but we'll start to proceed ahead. The first item on the agenda is to consider the minutes from the April 20th, 2023 meeting. If the commissioners are ready to discuss that, I had a couple of changes I wanted to suggest once people are ready to talk about the minutes. Okay. Under the heading of approved poll officials for June 15th, 2023, Tennessee House District 52 special primary election, there was a motion made, and it now states Commissioner Hertzfeld made a motion to approve the active poll official list to be used in their needed capacity. And my suggestion would be to restate that to say Commissioner Hertzfeld made a motion to approve the active poll official list to be used as needed.
Striking the June 15th.
Just it's striking in their needed capacity and instead putting in as needed. And then under approve early voting schedule if necessary for the Tennessee House District 52 special primary election, that's at the bottom of page 1. It currently states AOE Roberts stated following our protocol established for the August election. I would suggest that instead it say AOE Roberts recommended following our protocol established for the 2022 August election. It's just a clarification.
Mr. Chairman, it should be the 2023
20.
election. So that's when
Okay.
we agreed that all sites
Okay.
would be open.
All right. A correction to my correction. Thank you. And then on page 3, this is in the section describing Metro Law Director Wally Dietz's report to us. Under the first bullet point, it currently states, on April 3, 3-judge panel ruled in favor of Metro for injunction. I would suggest it state instead, on April 10, 3-judge panel enjoined immediate implementation of Chapter 21. And those are my suggestions.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the minutes with the necessary changes.
I'll second that, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Item 2 on the agenda is to consider the candidates for the Tennessee House District 52 special primary election. With that, I'd like to ask AOE Roberts to give us a rundown of who the candidates are and if there are any issues concerning any of their papers.
Mr. Chairman, the number 2 in your packet details the individuals that met the qualifying deadline for the House District 52 special primary election. The Republican ballot will show the name of Laura Nelson, and the Democratic ballot will show the name of Justin Jones.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Item 3 is to consider the early voting schedule for the Tennessee House District 52 special primary election. And I believe we've got, let's see, do we have that in our packets?
So you approved the early voting schedule last meeting, and what we need you to do at this point is to unapprove, because the statute says we shall not have early voting if we only have one candidate in each primary.
Okay.
This is the discussion I think we
Right,
had the last
right.
meeting, and we had asked for additional legal input as to whether or not we should or could have early voting, given that there's only one candidate for each party for the primary,
Right.
and the very, very clear legal advice that we received is that we actually cannot have early voting because
Okay.
there's not a contested primary. So I move to rescind the previous vote approving early voting, which should have the effect of canceling early voting for the primary election for Tennessee House District 52.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. All right, number 4 on the agenda is to consider the poll official appointment date of May 5th, 2023 for the August 3rd Metropolitan General Election. Mr. Roberts, that date is the staff recommendation. Can you explain that to us?
That's the date set in statute. It's 90 days before the election. So all active poll officials on May 5th would be included in our pool that we would utilize.
Any questions for Mr. Roberts?
Motion to set?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Sorry.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Then we have the item 5, which is to consider the poll official appointment date of June 16th, 2023 for the September 14th Metropolitan runoff election.
Motion to set?
Second.
All right, and that's the same 90-day deadline.
Same 90 days.
Okay, with a motion made and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Then we have item 6, which is to schedule the meeting to certify the September 14th Metropolitan runoff election. And we've got a recommendation from the staff of September 21st at 3:30. Is that satisfactory with people's schedules?
I'm out of the country, but I'm out of the country for a solid 2 weeks. So I don't think,
Yeah.
with the statute and it being the way it is, I don't think you'll be able to work around me. I'm not back until early October.
I'll make a motion that we do September 21st as the runoff election.
Second.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to schedule the meeting to certify the results of the Metropolitan runoff election on September 21st at 3:30 PM. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries, which brings us to the AOE report, which is item 7 on the agenda. Mr. Roberts, can you give us your report?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, included in your packet number 7, Mr. Starling had requested in the last meeting that we provide a calendar that the members could share. The calendar is here and in front of you. Keep in mind that you've got some asterisks on there, and they link up to some specific dates, so that because we have both a Metro general election and the state election going on for August 3rd, it requires a little bit of explanation when you're handing this out. Any questions on the calendar?
I want to make sure I understand the asterisks. So let's say, for instance, March 20th, first day to pick up petitions. That applies to the mayor, vice mayor, Metro Council at large, and council districts 1 to 35.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So if you look at the District 52, it has, even though it's on the same election date, you've got different qualifying deadlines, those type of situations.
Okay. Thank you.
Also included in your packet, we've got a map here of our current warehouse facility. If you look in kind of the right-hand corner, the white building, that's the warehouse. The center section where it says new gates, right in the center of the new police precinct for Southeast Davidson County, will be under construction in the next few days. So there will be a fence, the orange fence there, that will block off the area for construction. Because of that, the normal way that we have traffic coming in, where it had been two-way, cars coming in and going out, will have to be changed to one-way. They will only be able to go out. So the poll officials will have to come into the campus by McDonald's. There will be a gate there, come all the way down by Firestone, turn in front of our building, and start the drop off there. So it'll be a little bit different, but we wanted to get that in front of you and to let you know that there are more things planned for this area. So in looking at the picture, the grassy area that's brown next to our building, currently proposed would be a fire department warehouse. In the parking lot in front of our building would be another fire department warehouse. So our ability to have supply drop off at the warehouse is probably not a long-term solution. So if you turn to the second page, we give some ideas of potential options for this office moving as a result of the lease expiring and the B&A taking over. So there's like it says here, there's a 24-month notice period. So even if they gave us notice today, it would put us into 25. But hopefully everyone working on finding us new space realizes that we have a window when we can move, and 2025 is that window. So that's kind of the plan. And you can see they're looking at, as an option, we would move to the current fire department headquarters on the Fulton campus. It's on First Avenue, on the corner behind the Children's Theater. Should that happen, we would then have potentially supply drop-off there, and we would use the parking lot for the Fulton campus, the multiple parking lots, to have people come through and drop their results off.
We've already done this once before.
Right. And the reason that I wanted to get it in front of you so that everyone, it wouldn't be a surprise that shouldn't be a surprise that we're going to have to move at some point in time. So let's get this planned out, move at a point in time when we've got time to let the voters know where our new office is, those kind of things. And we have an opportunity to make more decisions on how the office is set up, what works best for us, what works best for the voters. Are we on a bus line? Are we centrally located? Those kind of things.
So thank you for letting us know as early as you could, because this is a little bit of a touchy subject, I think, as you know. For those following along at home, we used to have everything centrally located downtown, and then someone, in their infinite wisdom, decided to move the election commission, which is such an incredibly important function for every Nashvilleian, out to this location, which I, at the time, as you will recall, kind of lost my mind about because of the traffic issues, the lack of bus access, the general lack of access in general to get here, which I think today's delayed meeting because of significant traffic illustrates. So I am happy to hear that someone in the current administration, or perhaps it's you, is thinking very hard about getting us back to a centrally located place where people can get to us and get to us easily. So I'm very thrilled at that potential development. But I also would just want to make the point, for whatever record, not that anybody's ever going to go back and look at it, but it is incredibly disruptive to our system with all of our election schedules and all these things every time we kind of have to get up and relocate and move. So I think the fire department building, I'm very familiar with it. It's an excellent building. It sounds like a great location. I'm sure I don't get to just make that choice. Wish I could. But that sounds fantastic to me. And if we could do that and kind of just impress upon the powers that be, that if we could find kind of a permanent home like we once had, or at least as permanent as it can be, I think that would be beneficial to the staff, to the people, to kind of everyone out there.
Right. And I think if you'll notice at the bottom of the page, Metro has engaged Ernst & Young to do an overall space utilization plan for all of Metro so that they're not willy-nilly picking a spot. This is well thought out, and it works with everyone else. So I'm hoping that this is, we've got enough time. Let's put a lot of thought into it and make sure the space that we move into fits our needs, because they've even evolved since we've moved out here. Security is much more on everyone's mind, those kind of things. So I think that's something we will focus on.
A couple of things, Mr. Chairman. Number one, I'm just somewhat concerned with the older location, the warehouse where we do the drop-offs. If the officers and individuals that are bringing back the materials, will it be backed up on Murfreesboro Road again? That was a safety issue that kind of concerns us.
When we met with the planning folks and the people actually doing the construction, they actually called us and said, okay, we have to put up a fence. We need to know how to put up the fence to make it work for you. So they helped come up with the plan. And one of the things we told them is that we could not have traffic backed up on Murfreesboro Road. So I think the current plan, the way they've got it drawn out, we have the same runway width really to have cars lined up that we've had before. It's just in a different space on the campus.
Okay, and that was one, my main concern, because someone can really get hurt pretty bad if you have a bunch of cars backed up there.
Right. And we impressed upon them that, having the poll officials leave and go out on Shiaway and turn on wasn't an option at all, because there's no light there and,
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to ask, the warehouse, once the move is to the new location from here to downtown or wherever it may be, will the warehouse still be in its permanent location?
the plan is for the warehouse to stay there. And keep in mind, what they're planning on building in front of us is a police precinct with secured fencing for their vehicles and those kind of things. Fire department warehouse, secure, 2 of those. And then further down where the Kmart used to be will be the 911 call center. Again, a secure. So they're looking at that whole campus out there being a place where you don't have a lot of traffic coming in there. This is for just employees, and it's easy for them to lock the gates and secure it. Few people have cards to get in. So it works for us. We just have to figure out what we do for supply drop-off once the campus expands, because then it becomes much more difficult for us to have the runway length for the cars to back up on.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you, on the new facility, wherever it may be, if it's in the Fulton campus, will there be ample parking for the public?
I think that's a concern for us, because even here, when we're having election day or whatever, we're blocking off large sections of the parking lot out front.
Yeah.
It would be better if it was easier to do that. There's more parking at that campus than there is here, especially behind the children's theater, So I think that can work for us. We may have to be a little more creative, at night when we're doing the drop-off. If we needed to weave people through the parking garage, we could probably figure out how to do that. So I think it's just going to take a little planning before we just pick up and move out there. We have to know how everything's going to work. Same thing with security. We got to figure out how to beef up security. Right now we've got Kelly essentially sitting out front in the wide open. Once they come past the security guard, Kelly's kind of out there on her own. I sit close by, but I'm pretty sure Kelly's can probably take care of herself better.
Well, bless your
than I
heart,
can.
Kelly, I tell you, you're the trooper, aren't you?
Right.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
No, I was just kind of concerned about the parking, because we have people that come like we do today. And, it's pretty tough, because a lot of times right now, you have to park on the other side of the.
Right. Well,
Man.
and Commissioner Hirschfeld is right. We've had an individual bringing their photo ID back here after an election for a provisional ballot that had to ride the bus, that was in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
So the bus stop is up on Murfreesboro Road. It would be a little closer if we were in a building on the Fulton campus.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because we definitely need to accommodate, our customers, and so that'll be in the planning stages. Okay.
Right. Our customers represent a cross-section of Davidson County. It has to be helpful to every voter,
Sure.
not,
Sure. Okay.
I've got some questions. Is this a done deal?
No.
Where are we in the process? I know you told us that Ernst and Young has made a presentation and they have a plan.
Right.
Has the plan been approved, and where is it in the process?
I'm not sure exactly where all of the components are in the process. We're not the only people in this building. You've got police department, OEM, fire department, fleet. So there's a lot of moving parts that they have to have a home to go to also. But I think the positive is people are thinking about it ahead of time. It's not a last minute, okay, here's a good spot we can have you land for a year or two.
Has the staff had a chance to look through this along with you and come up with either, okay, here's what we really like, here's some things we don't like, et cetera, those kind of things, so that to the extent we can make constructive suggestions that we do so.
When we met with the folks to talk about building the police precinct, so it was myself, Jeremy, Will, we were out there actually walking the parking lot to say, okay, the fence can start here, but we can't back up on Murfreesboro Road, to help them understand what would work and wouldn't work. So they are, and they called us. We didn't call. They said, this is getting ready to happen. We need your input on how to make this work. So I think that's a positive, that everyone's playing on the same ball field, and we should get a better result.
Okay. Do we know whether this plan has to go to the city council or just to the mayor's office, and whether it's been approved?
The police precinct, they're going to start construction here in the
Okay.
next few weeks. So
Okay. All
that part of the plan is done.
Okay.
The fire warehouse and those kind of things, that's down the road. But
Okay.
in order for all of this to work and come together, it has to be an overall plan. They can't deal with just the fire warehouse separate.
Okay. All right. Now, I tried to get an idea of where the police are going to be in relation to our warehouse.
So this center section that's bordered by an orange and green, that's police precinct.
That's all police?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, it won't be all building. It will be a large section of secured police parking lot where they're going to be parking police vehicles.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is one of the advantages we have here is that we are next to a police precinct, which is great. Is there going to be any police presence when we move back to Fulton?
Well, when we're at Fulton, like all Metro facilities, I'm sure we will have both armed and unarmed guards at the building. All the entrances will be secured, those kind of things. And we can design some of that going in on the front end. So we have to have a secure room just for voter registration documents. Kelly needs to have more barrier between her and the public that come in, as opposed to what we have today.
Right.
All of those kind of things, once we get a little further along in the process, would be important that we express what we need. Even how we design the interior of the space. Most buildings are designed where it's wide open and you come in and they put in a footprint that fits your specific needs. We will be sure to design it based on how we do business at the Election Commission, as opposed to the way fire did business, because they're radically different.
So you've been told that there will be a budget to retrofit the inside of the fire department building to make it suitable for the Election Commission?
We haven't spoken about budgets and those kind of things, but I think it is based on the expense and the process that Metro is going through to look at this in a big picture way. I can feel fairly confident that that's on their radar.
Okay. Is there going to be anything else in that fire department building with us, or are we going to have that all to ourselves?
I don't really know how big the building is. It may be more than we need, and we may have to share it with.
Sure.
Today, we have the Arts Commission here. Now, that's not a huge entity, but they need a home. So
Right.
it could be that we share with the Arts Commission or someone else, the Sports Authority, or.
Those are all the questions I have on that topic.
I mean, it's still early, but I wanted you to be, here's what I know.
Okay. All right. Mr. Burns.
I do have one question. The airport board has to give us, you said, 2 years notice. Do we have to give them 2 years notice if we move quicker than they do in terms of what we find?
That would be up to Metro because we don't pay rent to the airport. Metro does. So they may move us out, sooner than we would have to move out, but it's part of their rollout to get everyone moved off of this campus. So if wherever the fire headquarters staff are going, well, they have to have their building ready before we can move. That building has to be renovated for us. So there's a lot of pieces in play. And I think based on the conversations I've had, it seems like they're doing this in a way to make all the puzzle pieces fit together correctly.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea how many parking spaces that there, as a practical matter, there will be? Because there's a lot of those spaces at Metro Howard are reserved for this department and that department. Do you have a general idea of what's available, and do we have a general idea of how many we want and what we want to fight for to make sure we got enough spaces?
The fire department has a pretty significant parking lot that's all its own. There's a top lot, more of a top lot and a bottom lot. I can't even think about how many spots there are, but I would estimate that there's at least 20. I think.
There's quite a few spots there. This area, our parking lot has changed when, a lot of police and OEM and moved out here. Used to be you could get here at 7 o'clock in the morning and not have a problem finding a parking space. But, depending on what's going on, you may be out at the airport parking. We will have that as a priority of, what we need, and it's no different than security. It's just one of those things that everyone has to realize we have to have because, we have parking needs for election day, people picking up a petition, depending on what time of day you come, you may have to be in the outer lot to come pick up a petition or give us your voter registration card.
If we get that location.
I think the potential is there. Yeah.
Anything further on that topic from the commissioners?
So the last thing I've got, just to give you an idea, unless Lisa updates me, we've got 111 people pulled petition for August. So we will be busy. Kelly will be busy. Right. Actually looking up all of these people. So, but, we're, like we discussed last meeting, and the information I sent to you, what we're doing, we are making sure that to the extent we can, we resolve all qualification issues up front. And I will tell you that candidates are still confused what council district they live in.
The council people are confused? Or the
That are running,
voters?
those
Oh,
are running for office.
Oh, okay.
And one of the issues, and we're working with the council, if you go to the council website and you put in your address, it brings up your current council member. Because if you've got a problem, you need your brush picked up or whatever, that's who you need to call. But that's not necessarily what district you're in for August. So we've asked them to put a disclaimer on there that says, you know, this may not be your August 3rd election district. Go to this website to look at it. So,
One other thing, just on the move. So if this move occurs and we go down to the fire academy there, we would eliminate the satellite office that we have now.
yes, it only makes sense to
Yeah.
have everyone in one location.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Now, you've received the advice from Metro Legal on the issue of how you go through and check people's candidates' credentials and the signatures and all that. So all that's been set up.
Right.
Okay.
I think I sent you a copy of the email that I received from Laura that said that the guideline or policy looked good.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission for Mr. Roberts? Okay. All right. The next item on the agenda is public comments. And under our procedures, we make the floor available to up to 5 speakers for 1 minute apiece. And we have 2 people that have signed up. One is Mr. Catlin. Mr. Catlin?
Today's the National Day of Prayer, and I thank God to be here. I just want to say, this is a segue from the 28th of November, and I just want to say I'm looking forward to working early voting with the Davidson County Election Commission. Didn't do it the last 2 times last year. I've got all your responses, Mr. Roberts, Mr. Height, Mr. Rick Brown, and I have responded to your responses. And there's some clarifications I would like to make, but I don't know if time will allocate that. But again, I am looking forward to working. And Mr. Roberts, you've heard me say numerous times, it's a great day to work at Davidson County Election Commission. Haven't you heard me say that, sir? Well, I just want to say I'm looking forward to coming back on board. And it was a hardship last year because I didn't work the last 2 early voting because my wife and I were planning on going to Europe. And so we're trying to suck that up right now. But hopefully things can work out whereby we can possibly get there. Again, thank you in advance.
Good. Thank you. And we look forward to having you back. And then Ms. Perkins, Joyce Perkins, can you have a comment?
My name is Joyce Perkins,
ma'am.
and it's the first time I'm down here, and so I have a couple of questions. I'm not sure they've been addressed or whether I could get a response for it. One is I've heard that for the election coming up, is that there's going to only be 2 polls, one over at the southwest and one here or wherever it comes with the construction and things of that nature. Is there any other polls that are going to be open over in the East Nashville area, or elsewhere for the new district that has been gerrymandered so terrifically. I know that myself and a friend of mine, we were out in the last election, and it was truly, I'm going to say, a real mess because people did not know where to vote. Which is it goes into a second concern. If you're going to send out another piece of information to let people know where the new polls are, because again, I was out there a lot. My colleague and I, she was out there even more than I was, and there were many other people too. And people just couldn't even get over to the right poll because of the time. And it's not that they waited, it's like, it's traffic time. It's really complicated, but you already know that. And so those are my two questions. And then the other is there a registration deadline, or is it possible to still vote in these elections, or is registration over?
Sure. Let me deal with the registration deadline first because that one's easy. So for the primary, for the special election, House for District 52, the voter registration deadline will be May the 16th. That's only for those voters in District 52. Now, as you heard, the action the commission took a few minutes ago, because we only have one Republican running and one Democrat running, which means you only have a choice for one person on the ballot, there will be no early voting for the House 52 race. Per state law, we're prohibited from having early voting. But we will have 22 polling locations open during
22?
on election day, June 15th, for House District 52. And these are the standard polling locations that people went to the last election.
Are you going to send out some kind of notice to let people know? Because honestly, it was really chaotic in the last
Right.
election.
We will send out a sample ballot to every household in District 52 that it won't tell them each person where they vote, but it will tell them how to look up where they vote. So if you need to go to a school or whatever, it will tell you this is how you find out. Or you can call our office and we will look it up for you and let you know.
Will you put that on the notice that you send out, that they can call and find out? Because you're really
Sure.
making an assumption that folks have computers and telephones. I know myself. I am an educated person. If somebody told me to look up on my telephone where I need to vote, if I didn't do that before, I mean, like, I'm 80 years old. I don't know how to do that. And I'm not the only one. I mean, and if we didn't have people at the polls, the folks wouldn't know. And if you're getting to the polls just, a half an hour with the kind of traffic that we have, I didn't know there was going to be 22 polls open. Now, that's a little
Right.
bit different too
Right.
than what I heard.
So all of your standard polling locations for House District 52 will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And no early voting.
And no early voting because we have no competition in the race.
Right, okay, thank you.
And Mr. Roberts, you'll also be making sure that we continue to do the public education that the Election Commission does, that people need to learn what their new polling location is post-redistricting.
Right. Like we do for every election, I'm sure the TV folks will be interviewing me and trying to get that word out. Make sure you go to your assigned polling location here's how you find out where it is, those kind of things. So we'll try to get the message out to make sure people understand where they need to vote.
All the local stations and radio stations, and maybe this is Nashville and anything else that where people can get information. One last thing, on the agenda, what is AOE?
That's me. I'm the administrator of elections.
Okay, I got it. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. That brings us to setting our next meeting. And the
Didn't we already set it?
we may have. That's all right. That's right. Somebody's thinking.
I'm on top of it because I'm ready to make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. All right. We have Ms. Hertzfeld has made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.